everyone, I'm Jo Barclay-Logie. First of all, I want to apologise for the state of the wall behind me. We are moving in a couple of weeks, so we've been taking down shelves, filling in holes, packing boxes, and it's pretty unsightly, so I do apologise for that, but you won't see it for long. I just wanted to get a few more tutorials filmed before we move, because I know once we've moved, I'm going to be elbow high in boxes for a long while, so I won't get the chance to do any filming. So today we're going to look at a technique. We've already looked at a few examples. I did a tutorial on flat spiral, which is this bracelet that I am wearing now. And then I showed you how to do spiral weave, which is little seed beads spiraling around a core. And today we're going to look at how we do a double spiral, which is basically a spiral around a spiral. So you can see there's no core beads showing there. I've got a gold spiral spiraling around a white spiral. So we're going to have a look at that and see how it's done. Before we get going, I just want to look at it a little more closely here. So you can see that I've got an ivory spiral going around a champagne gold spiral, and they don't unspiral, they don't come undone. It's pretty solid, and they are woven around a core which you cannot see at all. When we did the single spiral, you could actually see the size 8 core beads running through the center, but here you just see one spiral intertwined with another. So to do the double spiral, you're going to need one color of size 8s and 2 colors of 11s. I only used the 2 colors of 11s here, and you can see the little accent bead in the middle there. I just alternated, so when I was spiraling in ivory, I used the champagne gold as an accent bead, and vice versa. So my 8 is a matte transparent ruby. I'm using champagne gold or galvanized champagne, and I'm using silver lined flame red AB. I'm using a size 10 beading needle as usual, and I've got 6-pound Fireline, and I'm using smoke this time because my colours are a bit darker, so I don't want to see a white thread. I've threaded on a length that I'm comfortable working with. In this project you are going to be adding in thread depending on whether you're making a bracelet or a necklace. In fact, for both you won't be able to work with enough thread. Even for a bracelet you'll have to add in thread somewhere through your design. So we're going to start with the core, and I'm going to pick up 5 of my size 8s to make my core, and I'm going to move them down towards the bottom of my thread. I'm going to leave a 20 centimeter tail so that I can add on a clasp at the end. It doesn't matter at this stage whether I'm making a bracelet or a necklace. If I leave that tail, I know that I am able to add on a clasp. So there are my 5 size 8s, and I'm going to start my first loop, and I'm going to do a champagne gold loop, and my loop is going to come to the right of my core beads. So I'm working in sets of 5. I'm going to pick up 5 of the champagne, 1 accent, and I'm going to use the flame red, and then another 5 of the champagne. Each time I make a loop, I'm going to pass my needle up through 5 core beads, just as we did in the spiral video, and I'll pop a link to that in the comments below in case you want to have a look. So I'm passing my needle, remember there's no stopper bead here, just straight through those 5 size 8s. Pull your thread through, and you've got your first loop. Now this is a double spiral. In the single spiral we added to our core and we continued making loops on the right hand side. We're still going to make loops on the right hand side, but each time we're going to do 2 loops. So there's my first loop, my gold loop. I'm going to flip it over so it's on the left, so that I can make my second loop on the right of those core beads, and that's going to be in the flame red. So I'm picking up 5, 1 accent bead, which is going to be the gold this time, and then another 5. And I'm going to pass my needle back through those same 5 core beads. So for my starting 5 core beads, I've got 1 loop of gold and 1 loop of red. Now I'm going to flip it over because I'm going to add another gold loop next. But just as I need my spiral to grow, the core needs to grow with that. So I'm going to pick up 1/8 and add it to my core. So I'm just going to let it drop down to my core. And I've got my gold beads on the right, ready to do my next gold loop. So each loop is exactly the same. So I'm going to pick up 5 of my champagne gold, 1 accent bead, and another 5 of the champagne gold. And I'm passing through 5 core beads. And as my core grows, so I'm going to move up the core as I pass through 5 beads. It's always going to be the top 5. So in the beginning, it's really easy to see if you count back from the top where your working thread is exiting. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you're ignoring the first size 8 bead and going through the next 5, including that little one that you just added. Pull your thread through. And your second gold loop will sit above the first gold loop. Before I add any more beads to the core, I'm going to flip around so that the red is on the right, and I'm going to add a red loop. So I've got 4, 5, 1 gold, and 5 more reds. And I'm passing through exactly the same 5 beads in the core. Should never have put cream on my hands before I started this. Everything's slipping all over the show. So up through those same 5 core beads, and then this red loop will sit just above the first red loop, and I'm going to flip over again so that the gold is on the right. And before I add my next loop, I'm going to add 1 more size 8 to the core. Let it drop down. And we start again with our gold loop. So 5 of the 11 golds, 1 accent bead, and another 5 of my 11s, passing through the top 5 of my size 8 seed beads. Now, it's easier in the beginning because it's very easy to see where those core beads are. As you get more and more additions to your spirals, the core is going to disappear. So if you're a really tight beader, it's wise to be slightly looser in this. You can always pull your threads tight as you go along, but it will be a lot easier for you to get through that core if you're just a little bit looser. Right, so my third spiral is now sitting above the first 2 golds, and before I add any more to the core, I'm going to flip over so that the red is on my right. So I'm always beading the loops on my right. That way, I'm not going to get confused. If I happen to put this down to go and make a cup of coffee and come back, I'm beading on the right-hand side, and each loop is going to sit above the last one. If I didn't flip it each time and I got confused as to which way I was beading, I might start spiraling one way and then spiral the other way. So again, you're going through, I've picked up my beads for my loop, and I'm going through the top 5 seed beads. Now, I know I'm making more of a meal out of it than it needs to be. It's just because of the angle that I'm holding with it for the camera. You will be able to hold it a lot more sensibly for your beadwork, and you'll be able to pass through those core beads far easier than I am doing. So there I've got my third red. And again, my next loop is going to be a gold loop. So I've flipped over so that the gold is on the right. And I'm going to add another core bead. And so I continue. So it's the same thing all the time, just adding loops, 2 loops to each core bead. So you add a core bead, then you add 1 loop on the right, flip it over and add another loop on the right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm skipping the first 3 size 8 seed beads now, and I'm going to go through the core. And so you continue adding your loops. So I'm going to do a bit more now so that I can show you how the spirals start to work, and once I've got a bit more to hold on to, it will be easier as well for me to do more of a demo. Right, I've been busy, I've been spiraling away, and you can see now how that gold, champagne gold spiral is intertwining with the flame red spiral, and you're not aware of the core beads unless I was to go right to the top and separate these spirals for you. I also often just give my beads a little roll on the mat. It just evens out the spacing and the spirals as they stand there. So I've had this beadwork down for a little while as I chat to you, and now I need to decide, am I doing a gold loop? Am I doing a red loop? Am I adding a core bead? How do I know where I am? So if I hold this straight for you here, I'm hoping that you can see there's my last core bead, and I've got a gold loop that comes to the right and a red loop to the left here, but they are not even. The gold loop sits above the red loop. So I know that before I add another core bead, I need to do a red loop to the other side. So I'm going to flip over. You can see very clearly now how they're uneven. They sit at that angle, and you want a red loop coming out the top of that core bead too. So I'm going to pick up 5 of my red, 1 of the gold, and 5 more red. And I need to pass through the top 5 core beads in the center. So I'm passing through 3, 4, and I'm not quite through the top one there. Through all 5, not going through the gold on the other side, just through the core beads. Pass your needle through, pull the thread all the way through. Sorry, I've got quite a long thread this time. Now, when I put them side by side, can you see how the gold and the red rows are even at the top here? So I know now it's time to add a core bead. Flip it over, pick up one of my 8s and let it drop all the way down to my core. And I'm ready to continue with a gold loop on this side, flip over a red loop on that side before adding more core beads. So I'm just going to bring the finished piece back in again, because it's going to take me a little while to finish. Let's see. I've got about 1 inch left to go, so if I move this over into shot, you can see I've got about just over 1 inch to go. But adding in your toggle clasp is really simple, and you're just going to add it in through those core beads. Your thread exits, as you can see here, through the core beads, and I just added on a few 11s through the loop of the toggle and back down through those core beads before tying off my threads. So there you have another little technique to add to your growing collection, the double spiral stitch. And if you do make a bracelet or a necklace, please pop a picture onto my Facebook page. I'd love to see what colours you've chosen and how they work together, and see your spiral around a spiral. Thanks for watching. Bye.